In 47 known planetary cultures, the act of drawing a blade signifies an impending fatality. Yet the human girl simply smiled and inquired why everyone appeared so uneasy. What no one ever mentions about attending an interspecies academy is the utter absence of ordinary days. Truly, someone invariably commits a blunder. Someone invariably transgresses a rule previously unknown, and someone invariably finds themselves in the medical wing, having ingested something poisonous to their distinct biology.
Standard fare, right? Wrong. I am Vexthor Calarian, displaying 4 forearms, keen vision, and, according to my roommate, a deplorable sense of humor. I was utterly unprepared for the events that unfolded in advanced quantum mathematics that day.
But allow me to rewind, for context is crucial, and you must grasp the profound normalcy of everything before it spectacularly deviated. The classroom mirrored every other on Station Harmony, a sterile grey, furnished with desks accommodating at least 15 different physiologies, and permeated by that peculiar odor common to all shared spaces when too many species are crammed into a single ventilation system. Professor Krillinth, a Vaxian whose patience far exceeded his common sense, droned on about probability matrices. Honestly, my attention had wavered. Everyone else's had too. It was 4th period on a station standard Tuesday. We were all merely striving to endure until lunch. To my left sat Jax Morn, a Thorian whose carapace ceaselessly clicked against his chair. Annoying, but what recourse did one have? Behind me I detected the gentle hum of Pilia, a sentient being who hummed when distressed, which was perpetually, thus the humming never ceased, ever. 3 rows ahead, Corin and his cohort of Drexian friends exchanged notes, endeavoring to avoid detection. Typical classroom antics. Mundane, secure, predictable. And then there was Riley Torres, a human female, 2 desks to my right, slouched in her chair as if melting into it. Her hair, secured in what humans term a ponytail, she was entirely absorbed in doodling in the margins of her datapad, rather than taking notes. The doodles were quite impressive, in fact. Minuscule ships and stars, and what appeared to be an Earth creature with an excessive number of teeth. Creative, eccentric, harmless. That is precisely what I believed about Riley Torres. Harmless. Oh, how catastrophically mistaken I was. You see, humans had only been integrated into the galactic community for approximately 8 cycles. Still novices, still acclimatizing. Most species regarded them with apprehension because, well, Earth possessed a formidable reputation. A Deathworld, Category 12. The kind of place where every organism sought to extinguish life. And somehow, the dominant species not only persisted, but flourished. Yet Riley seemed composed, quiet, largely introspective, and frequently smiled, which was disquieting, as humans display their teeth when content. But one eventually adjusts. She never instigated trouble, never initiated conflicts, never did anything to provoke unease. She was merely present, background noise, an intrinsic element of the classroom ecosystem. Professor Krillinth gestured at the holographic display with 2 of his 6 tentacles, elaborating on something about wave function collapse that I ought to have been documenting but was not. Jax Morn's carapace clicked. Pilia hummed. Someone in the back coughed, which morphed into an odd whistle due to their divergent respiratory system. Normal, dull, safe. I recall glancing at Riley just before it all transpired. She was smiling at her datapad, that subtle human smile that revealed no teeth. The one signifying contentment, tranquility. Even her posture exuded relaxation, devoid of tension, devoid of concern. merely a student in a classroom, awaiting the bell so she could partake in whatever humans occupy themselves with during their lunch break. Likely consuming something that would prove lethal to half the station's population. Everything was fine. Everything was perfectly, entirely, utterly fine. And then, Falcine rose. Now, Falcine was a Calexics, a large species, heavy worlders, not quite Deathworld caliber, but sufficiently close to deem themselves robust. All scales, muscle, and haughtiness. He occupied the back corner, perpetually brooding, perpetually appearing as though his existence had personally affronted someone. Most of us avoided him. A sagacious policy. Keep your head down, avoid eye contact, survive the semester. But apparently survival was not on today's agenda. The screech of his chair against the floor rent through Professor Krillant's lecture like a blade through flesh. Everyone froze. One does not simply rise in the middle of class on a multi-species station. One raises a hand. One signals. One adheres to protocol. Rising without sanction? That is aggression. That is a declaration. Falcine cared not for declarations. He was issuing a pronouncement. His clawed, thick hand delved into his vest. My hearts, both of them, began to pound. Please be a datapad. Please be a communicator. Please be anything other than what I knew it would be. It was not a datapad. The blade emerged smoothly, skillfully, ceremonially, curved, gleaming, approximately the length of my forearm, and etched with symbols I did not need to decipher to comprehend. Combat blade, traditional. The kind one only draws when intent on its use. Oh no, oh no, 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 no. Professor Krillant's tentacles stiffened. His speaking voice abruptly ceased mid-sentence, supplanted by a choking sound that Vaxians emit when terrified. Jaxmorn's carapace clicking accelerated into overdrive, a machine gun rhythm of unadulterated panic. Pilia's humming transformed into a high-pitched wail that lacerated my ear slits. And everyone else? They fled. Not metaphorically. They actually ran. Desks shrieked, chairs toppled. A Capillion near the door bolted into the hallway without a backward glance. 2 Drexians attempted to squeeze through the door simultaneously, becoming lodged for 3 agonizing seconds before popping through like a cork from a bottle. I longed to escape. Every instinct in my body screamed to run, but my legs remained immobile, frozen, locked, useless. For here is what you must grasp. Drawing a blade in public is not merely discourteous, it is not merely unlawful. In 47 known species cultures, it constitutes a death challenge, a formal, binding, undeniably irreversible declaration that someone is destined to perish. You draw a blade, you employ a blade. Such is the rule. Such is the law. Such is how wars commence. Falcine held it aloft, light glinting off its edge, and his eyes, those frigid reptilian eyes, scoured the classroom, seeking someone, hunting for a target. My brain shrieked. My body betrayed me. I could not move, could not breathe, could not think beyond the primal terror of sharp object equals death equals run equals why are my legs not functioning? And then, by the void, Falcine's eyes fixed upon Riley. No, 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 not the human. Anything but the human. Humans were novae. Humans were safeguarded. Humans were meant to be kept safe. For if a human perished on the station, the Earth government would lose its composure and potentially instigate war. And none of us desired such a galactic incident on our transcripts. But Falcine aimed the blade directly at her. The universal gesture of challenge, of menace, of murderous intent. I yearned to scream. I yearned to warn her. I yearned to do anything, something. Riley looked up from her datapad. She blinked once, twice, glanced at the knife, glanced at Falcine, glanced back at the knife, and smiled. Not a nervous smile, not a frightened smile, not even a concerned smile. A smile that conveyed she had just observed something mildly intriguing, as if someone had uttered a joke not quite humorous enough for laughter, but worthy of acknowledgement. She smiled at the death challenge as if it were a minor interruption. What the actual void? Falcon's chest expanded. His scales rippled with what I can only describe as smug satisfaction. He believed he had her. He believed the human was too imbecilic to comprehend the unfolding events. He raised the blade higher, catching the light, ensuring everyone who had not already fled could witness it, ensuring Riley could witness it. "Human," he hissed, his voice imbued with that particular tone predators employ just before striking. "You have disrespected me for the last time. Your presence insults my lineage. Your weakness disgusts my ancestors. I challenge you here, now, before witnesses." He gestured with the blade, a formal movement that sealed the challenge within approximately 30 different legal frameworks. "Face me, or be marked as a coward for all time, and let your family name bear the shame across the stars." Okay, so dramatic? Yes, but also terrifying, because Falcine was not jesting. This was genuine. This was happening. This was an authentic, formal, absolutely binding death challenge in the midst of fourth period math class. Professor Krillinth had pressed himself against the wall, tentacles coiled inward, striving to become invisible. The few students who had not escaped were huddled into corners, trembling. I remained frozen at my desk, all four of my hands gripping the edges so fiercely I feared I might break something, possibly my own fingers. And Riley. Riley meticulously, deliberately set down her stylus, as if she possessed all the time in the universe. "Disrespected you?" she queried, her voice so placid it sent shivers down my skin. Falcon's eyes narrowed. "You mock me with your question." "No, seriously." Riley leaned back in her chair, still seated, still relaxed. "I have literally never spoken to you. Not once. I don't even know your name, dude." Dude. She called him dude while he wielded a knife, while he issued a death challenge. "You sit in my presence and act as though I do not exist," Falcine snarled. "You ignore my status. You dismiss my heritage. This is an insult that demands blood." Riley's eyebrows arched slightly. "So, let me get this straight. You're mad because I didn't pay attention to you." She paused. "That's the dumbest reason to stab someone I've heard all week." My mind simply ceased to function. I had encountered numerous foolish justifications before, but this was unprecedented. She was brazenly defying him, a human sassing an armed Quakelex warrior who had just issued a formal death challenge. It was unbelievable, inconceivable. It defied every known survival instinct of sentient beings. Falcon's scales darkened with fury, a raw, unadulterated rage. "Show respect or perish," he snarled. "Uh-huh," Riley retorted, standing casually, as if stretching, not facing one who sought her demise. "Quick question, though. That knife, is it supposed to intimidate me?" "It is a ceremonial blade," he began, "of the Krelex warrior caste, forged in the fires of—" "Cool story," Riley cut in, striding towards him. Actually, walking towards him. I couldn't breathe. No one could. Even Prelia's constant humming had ceased, which seemed a biological impossibility. Riley marched towards the knife, towards certain death. Humans were supposed to be intelligent. This was not intelligence. It was suicide, pure madness. The lock-in remained steadfast, blade poised, clearly unprepared for her actual approach. His stance shifted, readying to strike. You accept the challenge, human? You choose death over dishonor? Oh, I accept nothing, Riley countered, still advancing, still smiling. I just think we should clarify something before you make a fool of yourself. I will not be... That's a knife, Riley interrupted again, halting approximately 2 meters away, well within striking distance. On my planet, we give knives to children. Actual children, like 8-year-olds. We let them cut their own food with knives. We use knives to open packages. Knives are kitchen tools. Falcon's blade quivered, ever so slightly. You lie. Nope. Riley's grin widened, revealing her teeth. I've had a knife in my backpack since day one. Want to see it? It's got a bottle opener on it. Super handy. The classroom had fallen into utter silence. Even the ventilation system seemed to have ceased its drone. This was not how death challenges unfolded. This was not how any of this worked. You either fought, fled, or perished. You did not explain innocuous habits. You mock me, Falcon asserted, though his voice had lost a measure of its conviction. A little bit, yeah, Riley conceded. But here's the thing you maybe should have researched before pulling this stunt. She took another step closer. Falcon actually recoiled. He stepped back. I am from Earth, Category 12, Deathworld. I grew up with animals that could devour you in 3 bites. I have been pursued by predators whose names you couldn't even pronounce. I have survived weather that would freeze your blood solid and heat that would boil it. And you think a knife is scary? Her human eyes fixated on his, and I swear by the void, I saw Falcon flinch. So here's what's going to happen, Riley stated softly. You are going to put that knife away. You are going to sit down, and we are all going to pretend this never happened. Sound good? Falcon's grip tightened on the blade. I have issued the challenge. I cannot withdraw. Sure you can, Riley replied. Watch. And then she moved. I blinked. That was it. One blink. Perhaps half a second. And when my eyes reopened, everything had irrevocably changed. Riley possessed the knife, not Thalen. Riley, the human, held the ceremonial blade as if it were a common ruler, observing it with mild curiosity. Falcon, meanwhile, was on the floor, quite literally face down. One arm was twisted behind his back at an angle that appeared agonizing, though likely not entirely broken. Probably. His other arm lay outstretched before him, palm pressed flat against the ground, a position I recognized as a gesture of submission. 3 seconds, perhaps even less. I hadn't even perceived her movement. None of us had. One moment she was standing there, conversing. The next, she had disarmed a seasoned Crowix warrior and relegated him to the floor like a misbehaving pet. Huh, Riley remarked, flipping the knife in her hand. This is actually pretty nice. Decent balance. A little heavy for my taste, but the edge is sharp. You take care of your stuff. Props for that. Falcon emitted a sound, a blend between a groan and a whimper. His scales had blanched, a phenomenon I hadn't known crow scales were capable of. Oh, sorry, Riley said, devoid of any genuine apology. Is your arm uncomfortable? My bad. She shifted her foot slightly. Tulkin gasped. Better? No? How about now? Another shift. There we go. See, communication is important. You should have tried that before the whole knife thing. My mind grappled with the events, failing spectacularly. Humans were not supposed to be fighters. They were durable, certainly, resilient, but not swift. Not combat-trained. Not capable of subduing a Quix warrior in the blink of an eye. That information was absent from all human data packets, from all species briefings. It was impossible. So, Riley continued, still clutching the knife, still looming over Falcon as if this were an entirely normal occurrence. We learned something today. Anyone want to guess what it was? Silence. No one would attempt to answer. No one was capable of answering. We were all too engrossed in rebooting our higher brain functions. No guesses? Okay, I'll tell you. She crouched, bringing herself closer to Falcon's eye level. The lesson is this. Don't threaten people with knives unless you are absolutely 100% certain they don't know 17 different ways to take it away from you. Because, spoiler alert, I know way more than 17. How? Alan managed to wheeze out. How did you practice? Riley replied simply, lots and lots of practice. Earth isn't a nice place, remember? We have to learn this stuff young. Self-defense classes start at age 6 where I'm from. By 12, most kids can handle themselves in a fight. By 16, we are basically walking weapons. It's just how we survive. She paused. Well, that and we invented pepper spray and tasers and guns. But those aren't allowed on the station, so we make do with hand-to-hand. She stood, still holding the knife, surveying the classroom. Her gaze found Professor Krillinth, still pressed against the wall. Sorry about the disruption, Professor. I'll take this to security. We can resume the lesson on probability matrices, which, by the way, I was actually paying attention to. The doodles helped me focus. You... Professor Krillinth's translator faltered. Apparently, even technology struggled to process the recent events. Cool, thanks. Riley stepped over Falcon, who remained motionless on the floor, and began walking towards the door. It was then that security burst in. 3 officers, fully clad in tactical gear, stun battens at the ready. They scanned the room for the threat, finding Riley, brandishing a knife, standing over a prostrate crow surrounded by terrified students. Oh, hey, Riley greeted brightly. Perfect timing. This guy. She gestured at Falcon with the knife, as casually as could be. Issued a death challenge. I declined. He insisted. I took his knife. Here you go. She flipped the blade, offering the handle to the nearest security officer. You'll want to file this under attempted assault, I think. Maybe add in reckless endangerment, disrupting a class, whatever else applies. The security officer took the knife tentatively, as if it might detonate. His eyes darted from the knife, to Riley, to Falcon, to the rest of us, striving to unravel what had transpired. She's telling the truth, I heard myself say, surprised by the functionality of my voice. He challenged her. She defended herself. Defended? The security officer repeated slowly. Yep, Riley confirmed. Also, can someone help him up? I think his pride is more hurt than his body, but you should probably check anyway. I was gentle, mostly gentle. She called that gentle? What in the name of the void constituted rough? The security team advanced. 2 officers aided Falcon to his feet, while the third continued to stare at Riley as if she might suddenly sprout additional limbs, a prospect that, given our recent observation, seemed entirely plausible. Falcon mumbled something in his native tongue, but his translator had either deactivated or surrendered. Probably surrendered. I would have everyone remain calm, the lead security officer announced. A statement so comical, it elicited a ripple of disbelief, as calm had departed the premises approximately 5 minutes prior, and showed no signs of returning. We will need statements from witnesses. Can we do that after class? Riley inquired, glancing at her datapad. We have like 20 minutes left, and I actually need to understand this probability stuff for the exam next week. After disarming someone, after subduing a Krolex warrior, after demonstrating that humans were seemingly capable of moving faster than my eyes could trace, she desired to finish math class. Professor Krillinith emitted a sound akin to a deflating balloon. Classes. We should perhaps... Yes, class, right? Math. His tentacles still quivered, but he persevered. Credit to him for trying. Everyone, please return to your seats if you can, if you are able. Security, please remove Thalen from the premises. The students who had fled began to creep back, peeking around the doorframe like prey animals, verifying the predator's departure. Spoiler alert, the predator remained. She just happened to resemble a 5'6" human girl with a ponytail. Riley resumed her seat at her desk, as if nothing untoward had transpired. She retrieved her stylus, returning to her doodling. I stared at her. Everyone stared at her. She seemed oblivious, or perhaps indifferent. Security escorted Falcon out. He walked, barely, his legs appearing unsteady. His expression vacillated between shock and existential crisis. I couldn't blame him. If someone had told me humans possessed such capabilities, I would have laughed. Now I was experiencing my own existential crisis. Right? Professor Krillinth uttered weakly. Where were we? Ah, yes, wave function collapse and observer effect. The outcome remained in multiple states until a measurement was taken, a concept he mumbled, though the metaphor struck me as more tangible than theoretical. No one chuckled. Laughter was beyond us. We were too busy grappling with the sheer effort of breathing. The lesson sputtered to a halt. My mind processed nothing. My notes from the final 20 minutes were mere scribbles, formless marks. All 4 of my hands were still trembling, and my plural minds raced in divergent paths, attempting to fathom the event. When the lecture finally, mercifully concluded, I acted impulsively. I approached Riley. Hey, I managed, my voice cracking. Can I ask you something? Riley glanced up from organizing her datapad. Sure, what's up? What's up? This as if everything were normal, as if she hadn't just redefined the boundaries of human capability for everyone present. That thing you did. I vaguely gestured, encompassing the knife, the speed, the whole affair. Is that typical for humans? Riley tilted her head, considering. Define typical. Can all humans do that? Disarm someone? She shrugged. Most of us, yeah. I mean, not everyone takes self-defense training, but it's pretty common. Recommended, even. Earth isn't exactly safe, so parents usually make sure their kids know how to handle themselves. Kids? I repeated. You mean children learn this? Starting around 6, yeah. Earlier if you grow up in certain areas. She observed my expression, which must have been sheer horror, because she laughed. Oh man, you should see your face right now. All 4 of your eyes are doing that wide thing. 6-year-olds, I articulated slowly. 6-year-old humans can fight? Well, not fight, not at 6. That's more basic stuff. Stranger danger. How to break a grab. Where to hit someone if they're trying to hurt you. The fun stuff comes later. Fun. Okay, maybe not fun. Necessary. We learn it the same way you probably learned, I don't know, whatever you learn as a kid. Math, language, not getting eaten by local wildlife, standard education stuff. I slumped, uninvited, into the chair beside her. My legs had ceased to function correctly. You said you know 17 ways to disarm someone? At least 17, probably more. I stopped counting after 20. She grinned. Different techniques work on different body types. You know, what works on an acrylix wouldn't work on a vacaxian. Adaptation is key. And the knife in your backpack, I recalled. You actually have one. Oh yeah, hold on. She rummaged in her bag and retrieved a small folding tool. Red casing, multiple attachments, a Swiss Army knife. Got a blade, scissors, screwdriver, bottle opener, can opener, file, tweezers, toothpick. Basically a toolbox in your pocket. Super handy. Want to see? She opened it, revealing a blade no longer than my smallest finger. Tiny, practically benign. Yet she had called it a knife. The same term she had used for Thalen's ceremonial weapon. That's a knife? I inquired. Yep. I mean, it's a small one. My brother has one that's about 7 inches. Uses it for camping. My mom has a whole set in the kitchen. Different sizes for different jobs. Chopping, slicing, dicing, filleting. You need the right tool for the right job. Your mother has multiple knives? Well, yeah. How else would she cook? Riley appeared genuinely puzzled. Wait, do Quillians not use knives? We use cutting implements, I stated cautiously. But they are controlled, registered. You don't just have them in your home. Huh. Riley processed this. That must make cooking really annoying. What do you do? Like communal cutting facilities or something? We have tools designed for food preparation that are not classified as weapons. But knives aren't weapons, Riley countered. I mean, they can be used as weapons, sure, but so can a rock, or a chair, or a fork, if you're creative enough. Anything is a weapon if you try hard enough. The knife is just a tool. Super useful tool. One of humanity's oldest inventions, actually. We've been making knives for like 2 million years. 2 million years. Humans had been forging blades for 2 million years. And they gave them to children and kept them in their kitchens and carried them in their pockets. What kind of Deathworld produced a species with that mindset? You look like you're having a moment, Riley observed, refolding her knife and putting it away. Want me to elaborate on the whole Earth thing? Might help with the processing. Yes, I said, realizing I was a masochist. Please explain Earth to me. Okay, so... Riley leaned back in her chair. Earth is a Category 12 Deathworld, right? You know this, but I don't think you really get what that means day to day. By now, a few other students had gravitated closer. Jack's morm was still nervously clicking. Prillia hummed at a lower frequency. Even Corvin and 2 of his Drexian friends maintained their distance, yet were clearly engrossed. We have spiders, Riley began. Small things mostly. 8 legs make webs. Some of them have venom that can kill you. Not quickly, but enough to ruin your week. They live in houses. Our houses. We just kind of coexist with them. Sometimes we catch them and put them outside. Sometimes we leave them alone because they eat the other bugs. Venomous creatures, Prillia whispered. In your homes, and you let them stay? I mean, most spiders are harmless, Riley clarified. It's just the few species you have to watch out for. Brown recluse, black widow, Sydney funnel web if you're in Australia. But most of the time they're fine. Most of the time, I echoed. Then there are the plants. Poison ivy, poison oak, stinging nettles, oleander, castor beans, nightshade. Touch the wrong plant on a hike and you're covered in painful rashes for days. Eat the wrong berry and you're dead. We teach children which plants not to touch. It's basic survival stuff. Jack's mom's clicking intensified. Your plants are poisonous. Not all of them, just enough that you need to be careful. Oh, and we have weather that can kill you. Tornadoes, hurricanes, blizzards, heat waves, floods, wildfires. Lightning strikes kill about 50 people a year on Earth. Just random lightning. You could be standing in the wrong place at the wrong time and, boom, electrocuted by the sky. The sky attacks you? Corvin said flatly. Sometimes, yeah. Also, we have bears and wolves and mountain lions and alligators and crocodiles and sharks and jellyfish that can stop your heart and snakes. So many snakes. Venomous ones, constrictor ones, ones that can literally swallow you whole if you're small enough. And humans just live there? I said. Surrounded by all of this, casually. Well, where else would we live? Riley grinned. It's our planet. We adapted. That's kind of our thing. Adaptation, persistence, stubbornness. We're not the fastest species, not the strongest, not the most venomous, but we are the most persistent. We don't quit, ever. You can knock us down and we get back up. Hurt us and we heal. Try to kill us and we just get angry and figure out how to kill you first. She stated it so matter-of-factly, as if describing weather patterns, not the most terrifying survival strategy I had ever heard. Humans hunted animals to extinction, Riley continued. Not because we were trying to, just because we were so good at hunting that we couldn't stop ourselves. We chased prey until they collapsed from exhaustion. Persistence hunting. We would just follow something for hours, days even, until it was too tired to run anymore. Then we would kill it, eat it, use every part of it, nothing wasted. That is horrifying, Prilia said quietly. That is efficient, Riley corrected. And it gets better. Human endurance is insane compared to most species. We can run marathons, 26 miles, 42 kilometers, for fun. People do this for fun. Some humans run ultramarathons, 50 miles, 100 meters, because apparently 26 wasn't enough of a challenge. Why? Jack's mom asked, less a question and more a plea for comprehension. Because we can, Riley shrugged. Because it is there. Humans like challenges. We like pushing limits. Mount Everest, tallest mountain on Earth, literally kills people. The death zone. Name that because you die if you stay too long. Thin air, freezing temperatures, avalanches, crevasses, and thousands of people have climbed it anyway. Because it is there. Because they want. I was beginning to grasp why humans held such a formidable reputation in the galactic community. They were not merely survivors, they were thrivers. They took hostile environments and made them home. They looked at things that could kill them and declared, "Challenge accepted." So, the knife thing, I said slowly, that's just normal for you, because everything on your planet is worse than a knife? Pretty much, yeah. Riley smiled. A knife is predictable, controllable, honest. It doesn't have venom. It doesn't hunt you. It doesn't strike from the sky. It is just a blade. Simple, clean, easy to deal with. Easy. She called disarming an armed Krolex warrior easy. And the truly terrifying part, she probably wasn't even boasting. For her, for humans, it truly was that simple. 3 days passed before I encountered Thalen again. He was different. Not physically, though he moved a bit stiffly, likely from the being put on the floor incident. No, the change was in his entire demeanor, The swagger had vanished. The perpetual scowl had been replaced by something resembling weariness. And when Riley walked past him in the corridor, he pressed himself against the wall and averted his eyes. Submission behavior. From a Krolex warrior to a human who barely reached his shoulder, the story had spread. Unsurprisingly, station gossip traveled faster than light speed. By the second day, every student in the academy knew what had transpired. By the third day, everyone knew someone who had been present. The details grew wilder with each retelling. Some versions claimed Riley moved so swiftly she became invisible. Others asserted she possessed psychic powers. One imaginative narrative posited that she had actually eliminated Falcon, and the figure we now observed was a genetic replica. None of these tales, however, were as chilling as the actual circumstances. She had simply been exceptionally nimble, highly trained, and utterly nonchalant throughout the entire ordeal. The human demographic at the academy was minor, consisting of roughly 30 individuals among 2,000 students. Before this incident, they had mingled uneventfully, unremarkable yet affable. Now, a palpable distance separated them. Students would cross to the opposing side of the corridor upon seeing a human approach, not out of discourtesy, but out of reverence. This was the kind of deference afforded to an entity that possesses the capability to utterly devastate you, but opts not to. I witnessed this transformation unfold in real time. Venick, the Prelian who had previously fled the classroom, now offered anxious nods whenever he encountered a human. The Drexian cohort, which used to occupy the entire walkway, now yielded space. Even Professor Krillinith, in our subsequent class, inquired about Riley's seating comfort, as if she were visiting royalty, rather than a student who frequently doodled during his lectures. Riley, for her part, seemed entirely oblivious to this shift. She continued to arrive at class with her datapad and miniature utility knife, still sketched in the margins, still posed questions about the subject matter with genuine inquisitiveness, and still flashed that human smile that we now understood was not a display of aggression, yet, paradoxically, felt even more menacing. I consequently found myself observing her more than was perhaps appropriate, not exactly out of fear, but rather a morbid fascination. She would stretch in her chair, and I would note how her muscles contracted, efficient, controlled. She would reach for her bag, and I would track the swiftness of her motion, rapid, swifter than it ought to be. She would chuckle at something on her datapad, and I would glimpse her teeth, mostly flat, save for those 4 sharper ones, omnivorous teeth, belonging to both predator and prey. The teeth of a Deathworlder. "You're staring again," she remarked one day after class, catching me utterly off guard. "Sorry," I responded reflexively. "I was just contemplating how humans are terrifying apex predators who could likely tear you in half." She said it with a jocular grin, yet it wasn't truly a jest, as she probably could tear me in half. "Something like that," I conceded. "Yeah, you're not the first person to come to that realization this week." She slung her bag over her shoulder. "For what it's worth, we're not actually that frightening. We just seem frightening because your frame of reference is different. On Earth, I'm completely average, probably even below average in some aspects. I can't even run a 6-minute mile." A 6-minute mile? She uttered it as though it was slow, something to be ashamed of. My top speed was perhaps half that, and I would require medical attention afterward. "Riley," I began cautiously, "I think the issue isn't that we perceive you as scary. The issue is that you don't perceive yourselves as scary, and that might be the most terrifying part." She paused, pondered this, then shrugged. Fair point. Want to grab lunch? The cafeteria is serving something that's supposed to be noodles. I'm like 60% sure it won't kill me. Only 60%. And she intended to eat it anyway. Because, of course she would. I followed her to the cafeteria, maintaining a respectful distance, not solely out of fear. Well, not entirely out of fear. It was more that I had ascertained something crucial over the past few days, something every species in the galaxy should perhaps be privy to, something that ought to be emblazoned in large letters on every human information packet at every spaceport and station. Humans are not malevolent. They are not cruel. They do not seek conflict. They are, in fact, quite agreeable once you get to know them. They will share their sustenance. They will assist you with your academic tasks. They will crack jokes, laugh, and exhibit genuine kindness. However, they hail from Earth, Category 12, a death world where everything strives to eliminate them, and they have learned to retaliate, where they furnish children with knives and instruct them in 17 methods of disarming an assailant before they reach puberty, where they run for enjoyment and ascend mountains that claim lives and gaze upon venomous spiders and declare, "Certainly you may reside in my dwelling." They are amiable, right up until they are not. And when they are not, it transpires so swiftly you will not even perceive its onset. So, here is my counsel, generously given, acquired through observation and minor trauma. If you ever find yourself in the presence of a human, be courteous, be deferential, be benevolent, and for the sake of all that is sacred in the cosmic void, never, under any circumstances, no matter how resilient you believe yourself to be, or how much honor demands it, never brandish a knife at them. Because they will smile, they will disarm you, and they will do so with such nonchalance, such effortlessness, such utter disregard, that you will spend the remainder of your existence contemplating what else they are capable of. And truly, you do not wish to know. Some inquiries are better left unaddressed. Some enigmas are better left unexplored. Some species are better left unprovoked. Humans are unequivocally one such species. Humanity was not perilous because it pursued confrontation. It posed a significant threat because it had mastered the art of enduring any challenge it encountered.